Regensburg, Latin, Castra Regina, English, Ratisbon, is a city in southeast Germany, situated at the confluence of the Danube, Naab and Regen River. With over 140,000 inhabitants, Regensburg is the fourth largest city in the state of Bavaria after Munich, Nuremberg and Augsburg. The city is the political, economic and cultural center of eastern Bavaria and the capital of the Bavarian administrative region Upper Palatinate. The medieval center of the city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a testimony of the city's status as cultural center of southern Germany in the Middle Ages. In 2014, Regensburg was among the top sites and travel attractions in Germany, generally known in English as Ratisbon until well into the 20th century. The city is known as Ratisbon in French and as Ratisbona in Spanish and Italian. History. Early history. The first settlements in Regensburg date from the Stone Age. The Celtic name Radasbona was the oldest given to a settlement near the present city. Around AD 90, the Romans built a fort there. In 179, a new Roman fort Castra Regina was built for Leglia III Italica during the reign of Emperor Marcus Aurelius. It was an important camp on the most northerly point of the Danube. It corresponds to what is today the core of Regensburg's old city or Altstadt, east of the Oberer and Untere Bachgasse and west of the Schwanenplatz. It is believed that as early as in late Roman times the city was the seat of a bishop, and Saint Boniface re-established the bishopric of Regensburg in 739. From the early 6th century, Regensburg was the seat of a ruling family known as the Agilolfings. From about 530 to the first half of the 13th century, it was the capital of Bavaria. Regensburg remained an important city during the reign of Charlemagne. In 792, Regensburg hosted the ecclesiastical section of Charlemagne's General Assembly. The bishops in council who condemned the heresy of adoptionism taught by their Spanish counterparts, Elipandus of Toledo and Felix of Urgell. After the partition of the Carolingian Empire in 843, the city became the seat of the Eastern Frankish ruler, Louis II the German. 2 years later, 14 Bohemian princes came to Regensburg to receive baptism there. This was the starting point of Christianization of the Czechs, and the Diocese of Regensburg became the mother diocese of that of Prague. These events had a wide impact on the cultural history of the Czech lands, as they were consequently part of the Roman Catholic and not the Slavic Orthodox world. A memorial plate at St. John's Church was unveiled a few years ago, commemorating the incident in the Czech and German languages. On 8 December 899, Arnulf of Carinthia, descendant of Charlemagne, died at Regensburg, Bavaria, Germany. In 800 AD, the city had 23,000 inhabitants, and by 1000 AD this had almost doubled to 40,000 people. In 1096, on the way to the First Crusade, Peter the Hermit led a mob of crusaders that attempted to force the mass conversion of the Jews of Regensburg and killed all those who resisted. Between 1135 and 1146, the stone bridge across the Danube was built at Regensburg. This bridge opened major international trade routes between northern Europe and Venice, and this began Regensburg's golden age as a residence of wealthy trading families. Regensburg became the cultural center of southern Germany and was celebrated for its gold work in fabrics. Middle Ages. In 1245, Regensburg became a free imperial city and was a trade center before the shifting of trade routes in the late Middle Ages. At the end of the 15th century in 1486, Regensburg became part of the Duchy of Bavaria, but its independence was restored by the Holy Roman Emperor 10 years later. The city adopted the Protestant Reformation in 1542, and its town council remained entirely Lutheran. From 1663 to 1806, the city was the permanent seat of the Imperial Diet of the Holy Roman Empire, which became known as the Perpetual Diet of Regensburg. Thus, Regensburg was one of the central towns of the empire, attracting visitors in large numbers. A minority of the population remained Roman Catholic, and Roman Catholics were denied civil rights. But the town of Regensburg must not be confused with the bishopric of Regensburg. Although the imperial city had adopted the Reformation, the town remained the seat of a Roman Catholic bishop and several abbeys. Three of the latter, St. Avarim, Niedermunster and Obermunster, were estates of their own within the Holy Roman Empire, meaning that they were granted a seat and a vote at the imperial diet. So there was the unique situation that the town of Regensburg comprised 5 independent states: the Protestant city itself, the Roman Catholic bishopric, and the 3 monasteries. In addition, it was seen as the traditional capital of the region. Bavaria acted as functional co-capital of the empire due to the presence of the perpetual diet, and it was residence of the emperor's commissary principal to the same diet, who with one very brief exception was a prince himself. Modern history: in 1803 the city lost its status as a free city, following its incorporation into the Principality of Regensburg. It was handed over to the Archbishop of Mainz and Arch-Chancellor of the Holy Roman Empire Karl von Dalberg in compensation for Mainz, which had become French under the terms of the Treaty of Lunéville in 1801. The Archbishopric of Mainz was formally transferred to Regensburg. Dalberg united the bishopric, the monasteries, and the town itself, making up the Principality of Regensburg. Dalberg strictly modernized public life. Most importantly, he awarded equal rights to Protestants and Roman Catholics alike. In 1810 Dalberg ceded Regensburg to the Kingdom of Bavaria, he himself being compensated by the award of Fulda and Hanau to him under the title of Grand Duke of Frankfurt. Between April 19 and April 23, 1809, Regensburg was the scene of the Battle of Ratisbon between forces commanded by Baron de Coutard and retreating Austrian forces. The city was eventually overrun, after supplies and ammunition ran out. The city suffered severe damage during the fight, with about 150 houses being burnt and others being looted. Nazism and World War II. Regensburg was home to both a Messerschmitt Bf-109 aircraft factory and an oil refinery, which were bombed by the Allies on August 17, 1943, by the Schweinfurt-Regensburg mission, and on February 5, 1945. During the oil campaign of World War II. Although both targets were badly damaged, Regensburg itself suffered little damage from the Allied strategic bombing campaign, and the nearly intact medieval city centre is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city's most important cultural loss was that of the Romanesque Church of Obermunster, which was destroyed in a March 1945 air raid and was not rebuilt. Also, Regensburg's slow economic recovery after the war ensured that historic buildings were not torn down, to be replaced by newer ones. When the upswing in restoration reached Regensburg in the late 1960s, the prevailing mindset had turned in favor of preserving the city's heritage. History after 1945. Between 1945 and 1949, Regensburg was the site of the largest displaced persons camp in Germany. At its peak in 1946-1947, the workers' district of Ganghofer-Siedlung housed almost 5,000 Ukrainian and 1,000 non-Ukrainian refugees and displaced persons. With the approval of U.S. military government in the American Allied occupation zone, Regensburg and other DP camps organized their own camp postal service. In Regensburg, the Camp Postal Service began operation on December 11, 1946. At the beginning of the 1960s, Regensburg invested a lot in technical and social infrastructure to attract industry. Siemens was the first multinational company to come to Regensburg, a milestone in the city's development after World War II. In 1965, Regensburg University was founded. Regensburg University of Applied Sciences was established in 1971. The second multinational company, BMW, came in 1986 to build up a large production plant. Since the 1990s, several well-known high-tech companies are located in Regensburg, such as Infineon and Osram, contributing to the city's current wealth. In 1997, Regensburg was awarded the Europe Prize for its outstanding achievements in European integration. The World Heritage Committee listed Regensburg's Old Town a UNESCO World Heritage Site in July 2006. It is the largest medieval old town north of the Alps and very well preserved, dubbing it Italy's most northern city. Close to the stone bridge, the city of Regensburg established a World Heritage Center in the historic Salzstadel in 2007, where detailed information on Regensburg's 2,000-year-old history is given. Geography. Topography. Regensburg is situated on the northernmost part of the Danube River at the geological crossroads of four distinct landscapes. To the north and northeast lies the Bavarian forest with granite and gneiss mountains, wide forests and its national park. To the east and southeast is the fertile Danube plain, which are highly cultivated loess plains. The south is dominated by the Tertiary hill country, a continuation of alpine foothills. To the west is Franconian Jura. Climate. The climate in Regensburg is categorized in the Köppen climate classification as DFB. The average temperature of 8.5 degrees Celsius is slightly above the German average. The average precipitation of 636 mm per year, below the German average. With a total of 1670 sunshine hours per year, Regensburg is roughly 120 hours above German average. The warmest month of the year, on average, is July. The coolest month of the year, on average, is January. Main sites. The city Regensburg owns the largest medieval old town north of the Alps, with nearly 1,500 listed buildings and a picturesque cityscape. Its most famous sites are located mainly in the Old Town, such as the Dom is an example of pure German Gothic and counts as the main work of Gothic architecture in Bavaria. It was founded in 1275 and completed in 1634, with the exception of the towers, which were finished in 1869. The interior contains numerous interesting monuments, including one of Peter Wisch's masterpieces. Adjoining the cloisters are two chapels of earlier date than the cathedral itself, one of which, known as the Old Cathedral, goes back perhaps to the 8th century. The official choir for the liturgical music at St. Peter's Cathedral are the famous Regensburger Domspatzen. The stone bridge, built 1135 to 1146, is a highlight of medieval bridge building. The knights of the Second and Third Crusade used it to cross the Danube on their way to the Holy Land. The Regensburg Sausage Kitchen is a major tourist destination, but locals eat there as well. It was originally built as the construction headquarters of the stone bridge and now lies adjacent to it. Remains of the Roman fortress are walls including the Porta Praetoria. The Church of St. James, also called Schottenkirche, a Romanesque basilica of the 12th century, derives its name from the monastery of Irish Benedictines to which it was attached. The principal doorway is covered with very singular grotesque carvings. It stands next to the Jakobstor, a medieval city gate named after it. The old parish church of St. Ulrich is a good example of the transition style of the 13th century, and contains a valuable antiquarian collection. It houses the Diocesan Museum for Religious Art. Examples of the Romanesque basilica style are the Church of Obermünster, dating from 1010, and the Abbey Church of St. Emmeram, built in the 13th century, remarkable as one of the few German churches with a detached bell tower. The beautiful cloisters of the ancient abbey, one of the oldest in Germany, are still in a fair state of preservation. In 1809 the conventual buildings were converted into a palace for the Prince of Thurn and Taxis. hereditary Postmaster General of the Holy Roman Empire. The Adler Apotheker, located nearby the Regensburg Cathedral, was founded in 1610 and is one of the oldest pharmacies in Regensburg. Even today you can take a look at the ancient interior and historical vessels. Wealthy patrician families competed against each other to see who would be able to build the highest tower of the city. In 1260, the Goldener Turm was built on Wallenstrasse. The old town hall, dating in part from the 14th century, contains the rooms occupied by the Imperial Diet from 1663 to 1806. A historical interest is also attached to the Gasthof zum Goldenen Kreuz, where Charles V made the acquaintance of Barbara Blumberg, the mother of Don John of Austria. Perhaps the most pleasant modern building in the city is the Gothic Villa of the King of Bavaria on the bank of the Danube. Among the public institutions of the city are the Public Library, Picture Gallery, Botanical Garden, and the Institute for the Making of Stained Glass. The city's colleges include an Episcopal Clerical Seminary, and a School of Church Music. St. Emmeram's Abbey, now known as Schloss Thurn und Taxis, is a huge castle owned by the powerful Thurn und Taxis family. The city park, the oldest and largest park in Regensburg with a lot of artwork. The Botanische Garten der Universität Regensburg is a modern botanical garden located on the University of Regensburg campus. Herzogspark also contains several small botanical gardens. The surrounding near Regensburg there are two very imposing classical buildings, erected by Ludwig I of Bavaria as national monuments to German patriotism and greatness. The more imposing of the two is the Walhalla, a costly reproduction of the Parthenon, erected as a Teutonic temple of fame on a hill rising from the Danube at Donaustauf, 10 kilometers to the east. The interior, which is as rich as colored marble, gilding, and sculptures can make it, contains the busts of more than 100 Germanic worthies. The second of King Ludwig's buildings is the Befreiungshalle at Kelheim, 25 kilometers above Regensburg, a large circular building which has for its aim the glorification of the heroes of the 1813 War of Liberation. Besides, there is the famous Weltenberg Abbey, a Benedictine monastery in Weltenberg near Kelheim on the Danube. The abbey is situated on a peninsula in the Danube, on the so-called Weltenberg Narrows, or the Danube Gorge. The monastery, founded by Irish or Scottish monks in about 620, is held to be the oldest monastery in Bavaria. To the east of Regensburg lies the Bavarian Forest with its national park, one of the most visited protected areas in Germany.